What is up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Roster Chronicles, where we do a Dynasty roster review on your team. We look at some of these stud players, the core players that we want to build around. We look at some of the trade pieces. We look at some of the team needs. We look at some of the trade targets, what to do with some of the picks. But we take a look at everything. We give you some advice and what to do in your current situation. How can we make our team better for the future? So before we get into this episode, guys, do me a favor there. Hit that like, hit that subscribe if you do play Dynasty Fantasy Football. But let's get right into the video.
Caleb, thanks for sending us your team. Let's take a look. Let's see what we got. We got a 10 team. This is not a super flex. This is a 2 QB. So he has to actually start 2 QBs.
Okay.
We've got 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and 2 flex positions. So essentially, it is a start 9. We've got some draft picks to 2023. We've got the 101. We've got
That's
the
nice.
208 and the 408. All picks in 24, all picks in 25. And let's take a look. Taxi squad: Calvin Austin, Zamir White, Justin Ross, Danny Gray. Not a bad taxi squad. And let's take a look at the QBs. It is 2 QB. Don't forget, it's not super flex, so we have to start 2 QBs. Josh Allen, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Geno Smith. Not a horrible QB room. Najee, Aaron Jones, James Conner, Kareem Hunt, Harris, Hines, Ernest Johnson, Rashard Penny, and Williams. We've got wide receivers: Evans, Allen, Debo, DK, Pittman, Renfro, Van Jefferson, Jamo, and Shaheed. Tight ends: we've got Kelsey, Otten, and Komet. This is not a tight end premium, and yeah, full PPR. What do you think initially? Just checking out the team, Hammer.
There's work to be done.
Yeah, there's definitely some work that needs to be done, or that could be done here, without a doubt. But all right, who's some studs? Who's some core players that you kind of want to hold on to here, or you don't really want to give up?
Josh Allen, obviously, that's the leading guy. He's going to be your ride or die guy. He worries me a little bit, though. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I know he's going to get his. He's going to be a top 3 at the position. He does worry me a little bit, especially at the tail end of the season. I know he is what he is. He's amazing. But I saw some things that made me nervous with him. But that being said, he is your guy. Kelsey, you just got to ride out with Kelsey. He's just awesome. You got
Right.
He's one of those few guys that I don't care how old he gets. I'm riding him out. That's fine. So yeah, so you're looking at Kelsey, you're looking at Josh Allen, Najee. I could take or leave, but I think he's young enough on a good enough young team where I think they'll be improved next year, especially going into the draft, etc. Maybe shoring up that offensive line. From the wide receiver position, there's nobody I wouldn't move off of. Maybe DK to a lesser degree, but there's nobody I wouldn't move off of in the wide receiver room. And that's the biggest area that we're going to look to target. So yeah, so studs, you're looking at Allen and Kelsey, maybe Najee and DK to a lesser degree.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same. And I think the thing with Josh Allen is he needs some more weapons. Like Gabe Davis is just not that good. I mean, Knox is okay. He's got Diggs, who's really kind of the only guy he's got. I mean, they've got no running game like whatsoever. So I definitely think they addressed that in the draft. They've got a lot of, Bijan or Gibbs possibly going. I don't know if Bijan even falls that late, but Gibbs I've seen in a bunch of mock drafts going to the Buffalo Bills, so that'll definitely help. But yeah, I mean, Josh Allen's really the only poor guy that I would want to keep and build around. DK you can keep as well. He's young enough that you can hold on to. I'm okay with holding on to DK. So I guess Josh Allen and DK are going to be the 2 guys that I want to really keep. But then again, the problem is I would trade DK if you got a good enough offer. I'm not trading Josh Allen for anything in the 2 QB league. I don't think.
That's true.
But all right. So what's some team needs? What are some team needs that we're looking at here, Hammer?
Oh my God, youthful wide receivers, please. This wide receiver core probably should be applying for their AARP membership soon. Obviously Mike Evans, and the Mike Evans thing was so weird, man. Like, I know Blanc before the season started, you thought Mike Evans could be wide receiver 1, and it was just so disappointing. And now what the problem is that, first of all, we don't know what Tom Brady's future is. Even if he does go back to Tampa Bay, which I highly doubt, Mike Evans' value is so low right now just because he looks so bad with Tom Brady this past season. So you're going to be taking 50 cents on the dollar for Mike Evans anyway. Keenan Allen, same thing. He was hurt for half the season. I know he came on strong at the end, but he's basically going to give you 8 games a year. You have to anticipate 8 games a year.
Yeah, I mean, just to be clear, I didn't think Mike Evans was going to be wide receiver 1, but I thought he would finish with the most touchdowns. I thought he'd finish
right.
As the touchdown leader, which I still think wasn't a bad take. I don't know what the fuck happened, but
it was
weird.
Is
what it is. That was, I'll take the L on that, whatever. But I didn't think it was that crazy.
I didn't either.
Think anyone did, really.
And nobody had him doing what he did or lack thereof,
Yeah, I did have Ayuk having more wide receiver yards than Debo, but Debo got hurt, so it's hard for me to actually take a dub on that. But all right. So yeah, team needs. Yeah, I want to get some younger wide receivers, but then if you really, you got to start. You've got 4 slots basically. You can start wide receiver. So you got Debo, you got DK, you got Pittman. They're all relatively young, but let's try and upgrade. We've got enough here where we can combine some of these guys and try and upgrade, right?
Mm-hmm.
So trade pieces are absolutely everybody. Everybody's a trade piece here, except for Josh Allen, I think. I'd like to keep DK, but I'd give up DK in the right situation. But yeah,
would
everybody
you
else.
Considering it's not a tight end premium, would you move off of Kelsey to improve the wide receiver core?
I'm only moving off of Kelsey if I can get like a top 5 dynasty wide receiver, I think, or a top 10 dynasty wide receiver. I might push it to top 10. If I can get a top 10 dynasty wide receiver, then yeah, I'll move off of Kelsey. But other than that, no, I don't think so.
And also remember,
what about you?
That's tough for me because you're going to dominate that position. And you're basically going to get wide receiver 1 numbers out of that position, at least for the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would want probably a top 10 guy, and that might make me think about it. Top 5 guy, I might have to smash it, but especially since it's not tight end premium. But at the same time, having that advantage, of course, is massive. But if I can get one of those guys, I might have to do it, just for the pure value kind of standpoint and longevity. I'm willing to reset the clock and say fuck it. But all right. So what's some trade targets? What guys are we trying to move, and who are we trying to acquire? And I know it sounds like a broken record. The same trade targets are literally absolutely every bona fide stud young wide receiver that there is. But there are people that will move off of some of these guys if you give them something that they need or a package that they do need. So,
and I think with this particular team, you have guys that have name value. So try and lean on that a little bit as opposed to what their actual value is, because it is dynasty, because Mike Evans and Keenan Allen are a little bit older. Mike Evans coming off a really down year. Try and, like you said, talk them up. Don't let their value just stand alone. Try and talk them up. Listen, Mike Evans has been a top 1,000-yard, 8 touchdown receiver his whole career. Don't let one season, try and talk them up if you're in negotiation. So at least this way you could prop up their value a little bit and maybe pry somebody away that maybe doesn't know as much, or maybe somebody that, looks at the names and doesn't realize what the production is relative to what their name is. So I think that's the tactic you have to take with this particular team. Because I think somebody will take a Mike Evans, somebody will take a Keenan Allen, somebody out there. Now, the fact that it's a 10-team league kind of hurts you a little bit, just because the talent isn't as spread out. So I think it'll be harder to come off those guys than if it was a 14-team league or even a 12-team league. So those are the guys. So it's obviously it's going to be Mike Evans, Keenan Allen. Maybe what you have to do is pair a younger guy, maybe pair a Debo with a Keenan Allen to entice somebody to move off to pick up Keenan Allen from you and see if you can get
Najee Jones and Connor you got there too. And
Connor. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, and I didn't put in the team needs. QB is a team need for me here in the 2 QB league. I think it's very important. If you can try and get, another top 12 guy to pair with Josh Allen, I think that alone with Kelsey puts you in major contention. Doesn't really almost matter who else you even got
So to be
on your
honest with
team.
you,
So
his
I think
QB
QB is the first thing that I want to look at, and then I'm looking to get a little bit younger, moving off of Evans and Allen. But yeah,
his
I'm looking to get another damn QB.
his QB2 right now is Geno Smith.
I'm not. That's good for what next season. That's good for one season. Russell Wilson is washed. Tom Brady's got one more season. You could take the chance and just roll with what you got, but I think I want to solidify that. I think I want to solidify that.
What are some QB targets you're looking at?
The normal, like we've been saying, some of those injured guys are guys that haven't, performed. The Kyler Murrays, Lamar Jacksons. I mean, the Herberts. But I'm looking at absolutely everybody, especially if somebody is in desperate need. Do I
You know
have to
who's a
move off of Kelsey to get a damn Joe Burrow? Fine.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Or you might have to add more to Kelsey to get Joe Burrow. But I don't care. I'm still okay with doing that because by locking up the 2 QBs, you're automatically extending your contention by years to come. So I'm okay with that. Then you move off of some of the RBs, Najee, Aaron Jones, James Conner. They've all got to go. I'm willing to go zero RB going into the draft and free agency, and then you can pick that up after if you can move some of these wide receivers or combine some of these wide receivers. You've got still, Pittman, DK, Debo, Allen, Evans, Najee, Jones, Connor. You've got tradable pieces. So if you can combine some of those guys and take that step up, go after the CD Lambs, the St. Browns, the Waddles, even the Devonta, whatever. It doesn't matter. You can go up and get whoever you want almost with some of the guys, that you do still have here. But
Also, don't forget the 101 is big here because you have
you have the
your
101. So yeah, you could definitely go in no RB. Hell yeah, because you're getting Bijan.
so I think that's a factor too, looking in there where you could say, listen, I'll package I'll package Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, and Aaron Jones and go get, like you said, go get St. Brown, go get I would like AJ Brown maybe.
AJ Brown, yeah, I didn't throw that name out there, but of course that's a name. That's another name, of course. Any one of
I
those
like
guys.
that. Would you I know Diggs is a little bit older. Would you target Diggs?
No, this doesn't make sense if we're trying to move some of the other guys to go get Diggs. I mean, he's productive, but I can go out and get in Olave, who wasn't, great, but he was good enough to where that owner might give him up to get a Keenan Allen production. You know what I mean?
And it's
For
not a huge
for,
drop off.
for next season. So it is a little bit of a drop off, but now I'm extending my window. How much worse is that situation going to get on the Saints? It could only pretty much get better. But
And you
he's a
think
guy that you can get.
Olave would get better.
But yeah, Olave will get better. That's what I'm saying. So you can get, if you can get that for a little cheaper, I doubt you can go and get a Garrett Wilson. I mean, guy had 1,100 yards and what 3, 4 QBs. I mean, so it's going to be hard to get a guy like that. That's why I mentioned Olave. He might be a little bit easier to get. Or even can you get some picks? Can you get some a top 5 pick and get a wide receiver? Who knows what you can do? You got to decide what route that you want to go to, or who's even available, or who's
Mm-hmm.
shopping around who. But you definitely have enough pieces to just tier up. That's all you got to do is combine these wide receivers that you have, combine these running backs, and just tier up. You've even got QBs that are tradable assets. This is a 2 QB league. Somebody's
Mm-hmm.
going to want Brady and Geno Smith. So if you're able to go get another top 12 QB, even Deshaun Watson is another one that you can try and buy low on too. If you can get a top
Yeah.
12 QB, and then you've got Brady, Wilson, and Geno Smith, you can move one or two of those guys with a package with anybody else. You have to now start tearing up at wide receiver, and that's what I want to do. And you notice that it's a habit that we keep preaching to go after the wide receivers because they last longer. They're not as much able to get. Well, I don't want to say they're not able to get hurt, but they're not as much at risk to get hurt than running backs are. So I'd rather spend my assets on building up that room before I start going in on running backs or depending on running backs to carry me, because
Yep.
one injury can just derail you if you're putting everything into your running back assets. So, that's why you want to build around the wide receivers. And then when it's time, you can go out and get those running backs that you need, whether it's through draft or, buying some of the older running backs at that particular time. Again, many different routes that you can use, many different strategies, but that's one that seems to be what everybody's going with nowadays, or what seems to be working the most. It's been proven more. Obviously, it's just can't mess with science. I mean, it's just age.
Science. He said, "Don't mess with science."
It's just age and longevity. It's just natural. It's 20 years worth of, science. So,
That's hilarious.
um, but yeah, that's what I'm looking to do here. I mean, you're in great shape to, compete next season with a younger team with more potential. So I think you're in real good shape. You've got some pieces. You're getting Bijan is a big thing there at the 101. At the 208, I mean, it's a 2 QB league, so you can find some good running backs might fall to you at that range. So I'm okay
Mm-hmm.
with thrashing this RB room, like I said, and going in almost no running back going into free agency and the draft, and just kind of picking it up from there if you can build up some sick wide receivers. But that's what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to get 4 stud as high as I can get, highest tier wide receivers that I can. And you've got the guys to cheer up to do it. So, DK's young enough where, hey, if I give DK and one of these QBs, can I go get, one of those top wide receivers? Like we mentioned before, the St. Browns, the AJ Browns and all that. Somebody needs a QB. It is a 10-team league, but somebody's going to need a QB.
Yeah, no.
Right.
And I think one of the things for me is from even from the RB position, I think I'm gonna hold on to Najee. Um, just because I
Right.
do
Make the
like
argument.
because he is super young. I think he's got some more potential than what he's been thrust into, especially with a Pittsburgh team that's kind of rebuilding on the fly. And I do think, and I said this before with the Steelers, and we talked about them briefly before, but my main thing was I trust that organization to be able to put the right pieces in place to be
Mhm.
successful. They've done it for as long as we've been alive, and they're one of the more stable franchises in the history of the NFL. So I trust Mike Tomlin to be able to put together a solid roster, and their biggest need is O-line. So I'm holding on to Najee just as one of my foundational guys. Connor and Jones, I love Aaron Jones, that's my guy, but he's getting a little longer in the tooth. And then Connor, obviously, we know is a movable piece. So yeah, so that RB situation, everybody's up for grabs for me, but I would hold on to Najee, especially if you're gonna get the 101, and if you do have Bijan there with Najee, then you're ready to go for a little while. Um, I think Aaron Jones with James Conner, with Evans, Keenan, even Debo. I throw Debo in there because he's young enough where his value is still going to be high, and people will give you good value for him.
Definitely. No, I definitely agree with the Najee thing. I mean, I'd like to hold on to him, but if you got to give him up to, step up somewhere, then I'm okay with doing that. But if you can keep him, then I would definitely love to keep him. It just depends, who you're trying to get and what those certain GMs are asking for. So if you got to give up Najee, then I'm okay with doing it. But if you can keep him, by all means, I'd love to keep him. But yeah, like you said, Debo's got, can you give up Debo in a piece and tear up? Can you give up DK in a piece and tear up? Can you combine Evans and Allen and get you a nice young stud? You still got Pittman, who's a nice tradable asset, who actually might get traded. There's talk about him getting traded and them trying to move up in the draft.
Which would be
So
interesting.
so that is something interesting as well. And Pittman's still decently young enough. I think he's 26 right now. He might be or 26 going into the
Yeah,
season, possibly.
he's not
But
that old. That old.
but yeah, you've got plenty of guys where you can try and tier up and get that young elite talent that you want that is going to carry you, for years and years. And then, of course, you're getting Bijan, so that's automatically putting you, you got Kelsey. And like I said, if you got to come off of Kelsey to get a top QB, I'm okay with doing it. But, I think that's the things we're working on here is getting another top 12 QB and then fixing up that wide receiver room and trying to get a little bit younger and getting rid of these old running backs. And let me throw out there as well, Kareem Hunt, I like as a sleeper going into next year. He's going to get signed by somebody, and he could be a viable, third down back or pass catcher or
I
have
don't
some
mind that at all.
he could have some kind of role. And Dearness Johnson as well. He's going to be a free agent. And listen, when Chubb was hurt, I mean, Dearness Johnson had some monster games. Those,
Yes,
the few games that he did play. So the guy can play if he can find himself in some kind of committee or something like that.
yes,
I do like him as well. But yeah, I think that's what we are looking at there. You got anything else you want to throw out there? And listen, I'm okay with giving up, next year's pick or even a next year first to go and grab that top 12 QB if you have to, because that's going to
yeah, that's
be
true.
extremely important here as well. I want to make sure I throw that out there as well, because that's what it might take. It might take you, a next year first, along with, some of these guys to get you one of those top 12 QBs. But if you can do that, I mean, you're set to roll, baby.
Yeah, I think going out there, like you said, and getting that solid QB2, Burrow's gonna cost you. Would
Oh hell yeah,
you
anybody's going to cost you, but
here's
you've
here
got some pieces where
let
you
me
could make a
let,
decent offer.
let me throw this out at you.
Yeah.
If you had to come off for the 101 for Burrow, are you doing it?
Yes.
Maybe that's an
Yes.
option.
Yes. I would do it in Superflex, so I can't say I wouldn't do it in a 2 QB. If I'm getting Joe smoking cigar Burrow, my number 3 QB in Dynasty, yeah, he might
You
even be number 2. Honestly, he might
you
move
know
up to number 2. I've got Patty as my number 1. I've got Josh Allen as my number 2, just because the
the
rushing
rushing
upside
side.
at
Yeah.
some point in time that's going to start to diminish, and it's
Yep.
going to, the longevity isn't going to be as long. And I'm actually editing a video now that I'm going to post for tomorrow of one of my drafts that I did, I think it was 2 weeks ago in a real league. And I talk about the QBs a little bit and why I prefer more of the pocket passers and the rushing guys in Dynasty. In redraft, I'm willing to go, risk it for the biscuit and take the Jalen Hurtses and the Fields and all those guys. But in Dynasty,
hmm
I'm a little bit more reluctant to go that route. I don't know if you noticed that yet, but
Yeah, no, and I think one of the things, especially with a Joe Burrow, is don't sleep on his legs either. But he's not like Joe Burrow
you
can
can move with
move.
it.
He can
Yeah.
move when he needs to, and I think that's an underrated part of his game. I think he had 5 rushing touchdowns this year. So, but
Mhm.
he's not as physical a runner, obviously, as a Josh Allen. He doesn't take as much punishment as a Josh Allen, even though he does get sacked a lot. Josh Allen is consistently taking on linebackers and D linemen, getting hit when he's running the ball. So, for my money, if you go out and see if you could trade that 101 and see if you could go get Joe Burrow, that you know how I feel about him. That's my guy.
I
I
know.
have it. I have him in my dynasty league, and he's my guy.
Listen, I know Bijan is the guy that we all want. He's a generational running back, and he is. But trust me, Joe Burrow is going to be a lot more valuable to your team combined
In
with
a two
Josh
quarterback
Allen
league,
in a 2 quarterback league over the next 10 years than
at
Bijan
least.
Robinson is going to be, unfortunately. Um, you know, so that's the biggest thing that I want to say about that. And you might, maybe you don't like giving up the 101, or whoever's out there, let me know. What do you guys think? Would you guys give up the 101 for, a top 3 to 5 QB in a
In
2
a two
QB league
quarterback.
or
Yeah.
a super flex league? I think the answer is yes, but
Yeah.
yeah. Anything else you want to throw out there for this team?
No, I think like you said, there are so many movable parts that make sure you make the right moves. You
Yeah.
know, I think you hit it on the head in terms of solidifying that QB2 to go with Josh Allen. Um, try and go get Joe Burrow, man. See if you could move that 101, even if it takes the 101 and Aaron Jones.
Yeah, I don't care.
I would do it. You know what I mean? Sweeten the pot.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
And
Sweeten the pot. 101
yeah,
and
like
Aaron Jones.
yeah, and then same thing like we talked about before. You've got some of these guys and Aaron Jones, James Conner, Mike Evans, and Keenan Allen, where it's just diminishing value. The value is just going to continue to go down. Where you've got to get out. You got to get out now. As soon as you can, because you're just taking like you say, 50 cents on the dollar sooner or later, and you just
Probably
got to
even
cash
less
out
if you
now.
probably even less if you start the season with some of these guys.
Yeah, you just got to cash out now. And Connor's going to be the starter going in, so he's pretty valuable for a team that wants to win, right now, or a team that needs a running back. So,
Mm-hmm.
you can definitely use that to your advantage there. But
And like you said, search out, even if you have to sit down and map it out and write down the teams that you're targeting. Okay, team X needs wide receivers, team Y needs running backs, team, whatever has 3 quarterbacks, right? That maybe they're more willing to part with that to get some
Mhm.
help at wide receiver or running back. So map it out first and then go ahead and start engaging in conversation. So at least going in, you have a little bit of a game plan, because with this particular team, there can be a lot of moving parts as you're trying to get that stud QB2, get younger at the wide receiver room, moving off some of those running backs. Maybe you're thinking about including the 101 in any of these packages. So really, I would sit down and map it out if you're going to make, 3 or 4 moves.
Yeah, definitely. But thanks, Caleb, for setting the team.
Wraps it up for this episode of the Roster Chronicles. Guys, let me know what you think down there in the comments. If you have any other suggestions for this particular team, pop them down there in the comments. Do me a favor there, hit that like, hit that subscribe. If you do play Dynasty Fantasy Football, if you would like a Dynasty roster team review, check down there in the description. Hit us up on our email at dynastylifeforever@gmail.com. Send us your roster. Make sure you send us the format, any other information that we're going to need to properly review your team so you can get on the next episode. But again, thanks for tuning in, guys.